So when you're looking at it and you see, again, Hezbollah's got activated, Israel's at a place to where they're either going to be destroyed or God's going to come through. Either the whole Middle East is going to come and rise up, or they're going to rise up. And in some ways, this is a proxy war for America. I mean, this is like Israel fighting for the West. And so talk to us about spiritually what you're seeing in this.
Yeah, there's so much. And this relates to Revelation, relates to Ezekiel, it relates to everything the Bible said of the end times. There is the war I alluded to is, the Bible says that there is a real entity that we call Satan. It's from Hebrew, Satan. And this entity exists to destroy the purposes of God and stop the purpose of God. Well, on the other hand, God creates another entity, Israel, or the Jewish people, and they exist for the opposite. They exist to bring forth the purposes of God, the Bible, the Word, Messiah, the kingdom. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a war between the two, And so if you look at human history, I mean, and up to this, and it's like exploded in this last period. But what we've been watching, you'd expect the Jewish people would be the most persecuted people, most hated people, the most warred against people, the most hunted down people, because that's actually what it says in Revelation. The dragon hunted or persecuted the woman. So we're watching this thing, and you can never explain it rationally, because in every generation it happens, and the reasons are always different. The communists hated the Jews because they said they were capitalists. The capitalists said they were communists. It doesn't matter what it is. It could, you cannot explain Hitler and the Third Reich naturally. There's no rational thing. It is demonic, but the Bible does explain it. And then Hitler goes, and now we're dealing with this every generation, So this is kind of, the Bible speaks about the end times, and it says the world is going to be a world in which you'll know you're in the end times when Israel has come back into it. And also when all the nations are going to be obsessed with this little New Jersey-sized land, and that they're going to rage against. It makes no sense. They're going to rage against it. This is all part of it. It's kind of all leading to the final stage. But we're watching, really, I could say, Shawn, I've watched, of course, world events as you have in prophecy. I've never seen things accelerate so fast in so many fronts prophetically as this past period that we're still in right now.
Well, we're coming into probably one of the most important elections. People always say that, but this seems to be one of the most important elections in America's history, at least modern history, because of all that's at stake. And I'm not asking you to talk about the candidates at all, but talk about the political season we're in, geopolitically worldwide, but also in America right now. We're in this sense of like, if we are having end time events happen right now, what are we doing? Like, how do we actually like vote, not just with our conscience, but with our spirit?
We're, and this goes with all this, and it's speaking of the end times, it's Israel on one side, but it's also a great falling away on the other. Mm-hmm. And we're watching both happen. I mean, simultaneously. And by the way, also in the vision of the Revelation, the dragon wars against Israel, but also against the rest of her children who are Christians. They're talking about those who follow Messiah. So we'd expect it. So we talk about culture war. It's not, so you're watching, a physical war happening in the Middle East regarding Israel's existence. And we're watching a spiritual war take place in the West and much of culture in America. This election, certainly, I don't believe it's ever been so diametrically opposed. We have so radical a stand, one regarding, for instance, life, regarding, religious freedom, freedom of speech, regarding gender. It's never been so radical. I mean, just objectively on one side, and you have another side, which is kind of trying to hold the fort. You have the conservatives trying to hold the fort. Christians are trying to hold the fort. And so it really tells you where we are, number one, so we're watching two gigantic wars. And by the way, you said vote, I do encourage everybody who's watching, I'm sure you do too, but vote, number one, because you do make a difference. Number two, prayer is the most important. Without revival, America is lost. I've been, I've been warning about this. The Lord has led me to write from the Harbinger on. We are in a very dangerous position where we are heading for judgment. If we don't turn back to God, we are racing away. So we're really watching the two major strands of the end times. One is Israel, and the other is the falling away and everything that comes because of it. We're watching both of them, and they're both accelerating. Shawn, I don't know how you felt like after the thing happened, after October 7th. It wasn't just there. All over the world was this outbreak of this rage against Israel, which we have never seen to that degree. That scale has never been so widespread. And it wasn't just the Islamic world, it was the Western world and America and Harvard. And when they made studies, they found that the young people were leading it and are more against Israel than, and more for Hamas. And this is the future, except for revival. That's the future. So this really, I could say every single thing is lining up with that. We do have to pray for America. I pray for that. I pray for revival all the time. I try to work for revival. We got to do that. But we also have to realize that if we do not, the way the culture is going, it's racing away from God. One of the prophecies of end times that has really moved forward, Ezekiel says that in the last days, there'll be an alliance of nations that will come against Israel and will invade. And this is last days, because he says, and it'll happen in the end times, in the latter days. And the thing is that he identifies the nations, and we can identify a number of them. And the amazing thing is, he says that they're gonna take part in an invasion of Israel. Now that's yet to come, but it may be the next great big prophetic event. But the thing is that they've never done that until this year, because behind October 7th were the nations of Ezekiel that he mentioned. That he mentions Cush or Sudan, they were behind Hamas. He mentions Put or Libya, they were behind it. Wow. He mentions Turkey, they were behind it. And he mentions Iran. Iran was all these ones, and that has never been ever until this year. And the other thing is he says that Iran is going to attack Israel. Well, that's part of it, and it's still to come. But Iran has never attacked Israel directly, ever, until this spring, when they sent all those missiles to Israel and the world was on edge. So we are crossing prophetic lines gigantically. And the other thing is that you said at the beginning, you can't understand. I mean, people try to just look at the news without this, having God's perspective. The spiritual realm is behind the physical realm. And one of the things about it is one of the things I speak about when I speak about the end of days in the book is there's something called the Sar Paras. The Sar Paras is an entity mentioned in the Bible in Hebrew that exists to oppose Israel, destroy Israel, stop the purposes of God for Israel. Sar Paras, demonic entity. What does it mean? Sar means ruler or leader or general. Paras means the nation of Iran. So here you've got this mystery from the Bible, an entity that exists to destroy Israel, and you've got Iran, that is the nation that more than any nation on earth exists to destroy Israel. And people are trying to understand it. We can't understand Iran. Yes, you can. There is an entity behind it that is exactly what the Bible says, and that is why they are behind Hezbollah right now. The news right now, behind Hezbollah is Iran. Behind Iran is the Sar Paras. Behind October 7th was Gaza. And behind that was Hamas. Behind Hamas was Iran, the Sar Paras, and the
this is all trackable. This is all completely true, and it's interesting that Iran was almost bankrupt when Trump was in office, and they got such an infusion of wealth after that, which also speaks of where we're at, that there was people who were willing to go to bed with Satan, so to speak, to be able to get this wealth transferred in that enabled them to be able to fund this war. And the bigger thing that I think is interesting, a lot of people don't know, is that there's been reports that over 1 million Iranians have just gotten saved over the last 3 months.
Yes.
That's a crazy number. Like there's such an underground church there that has, especially with Armenians and others that have been leading this. It's so interesting to me that there's this in the middle of the Middle East, and one of the places of the most crisis, there's a great light of Jesus. Yeah, and I think that's very significant in the midst of what we're talking about. Well, Rabbi Cahn, I think looking at you, I know why this book has risen to the top of the charts of all books sold worldwide right now, because people are looking for the spiritual perspective, and you so give it so beautifully every single time you write, you speak, you share. All of us, we just come alive. Like we just come into a place of like, that's it. I didn't have words for it. I didn't have the language, and you're giving us the language, and it's creating a roadmap for people to have faith. And so I want to just commend you and tell you, like, we need you. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad. As a Jewish man, we're so grateful for you. As a rabbi, we're so grateful. But as a Christian brother, we're so grateful that you exist. And for such a time as this. So thank you. I know everybody's going to get this book. Is there a best way besides Amazon that you encourage people to get it?
Literally. Yeah. Thank you, Shawn. And by the way, likewise, Becky, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. By the way, you have a unique spirit, just where you're seeking the heart of God and you're seeking people to be encouraged by the heart of God. And also, it's also prophetic at the same moment. It's for this hour. The book is, you can't miss it. It looks like this. You can't miss the cover. That's the dragon I saw. But literally, the Dragon's Prophecy is everywhere. You know, you can get on Amazon, get it right on now online. It's also in Walmart and Target and all those places.
Yeah, it's everywhere. I've seen it everywhere. I've been to Target. I've been to
Really?
Barnes and Nobles.
Really?
It's there on the shelves.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like they're not going to miss it.
Yeah, I'm hoping people get it, not just for themselves, for people in their lives who need to be waking up, wake to know what's happening, know what's coming, and to be ready. Again, the last whole part is how to be ready and how to overcome, because we are called, they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, you know, and that's that we do win, you know, and so that's what about it. But it's literally everywhere, and for believers and also non-believers who don't believe and they don't realize how real God is.
Well, we're so excited about this, but we're also excited about Return of the Gods Part 2. I can't wait. I cannot wait. So we will be with you again and interview you again on that one. But thank you so much for providing an atmosphere for this conversation, because we needed to have it.
Thank you.